let's see. Let's see. Can y'all hear me? Does this work? Let's see. Hello? Does it work? Perfect. Is the audio quality, is it any good? Does it sound well? Let's see. No video. Okay, čujemo te. Odlično. So, let's see. This. Does this work? What is this thingy? Edit. No. Cancel. Open widget. Error. Stream status poor. Okay, I don't know how this works. Anyway, привет всем. Hello everyone. This is kind of different. Actually, I didn't think actually I thought I didn't think I would stream because I'm not that good with streaming. I've never really watched streams, at least not that actively. So, but I thought maybe it might be a good idea just as anticipation for the next video, which is coming up pretty soon. It's almost done. It's the biggest project I've had until now, so it took a lot of time. So I thought it might be fun to look at a document, actually, which is a document that I've used quite a few times for the previous videos, especially like these things, if y'all can remember. So these initial letters, in the previous video you could see some of them. Usually I take inspiration from some documents, like I don't imagine or I don't think of like some exciting nice. So usually I look for things that were actually used. So I prefer to look for actual initial letters or some beautiful drawings or something which I can take inspiration from and kind of rework. Okay, so the article or manuscript that I thought might be interesting is this one made by Istomin, Bukvár, which is a primer. It's called a primer in English. So what's a primer? Actually, the word isn't even that common in English. Dobar večer. So it's not even that common in English. But it's actually a book made for kids, specifically for kids, with the aim of teaching them how to read. So usually it includes the alphabet. Well, actually it always includes the alphabet with some pictures, with some kind of mnemonics, basically, something that people can remember, kids can remember, something that catches the eye. Which is actually it's quite interesting, especially if you go back, like look at the Greek primers, look at some Russian ones, one of which we'll be looking at today, probably the most famous one, actually. So this one was created in 1694, and even though I've looked at it a lot of times, I've never really read it thoroughly because the language is kind of archaic. Obviously, it's a mix of Church Slavonic and medieval Russian, late medieval Russian. I should be studying Japanese. So it's a mix, which is pretty common for the pre-Petrine era. So before Peter the Great, a lot of people wanted reform, but they didn't possess the power that the Tsar, so that the emperor had, or that the church had, because the church obviously was very conservative, so they didn't want to push any reforms. But the normal people, peasants obviously didn't care, they couldn't read, so it was more like the upper class people. Most of them actually wanted reform in some sort of way. So this kind of mixes two different worlds, which we're going to dive into. So a little bit about the guy himself, because he's a legend. Well, he was a legend. So this guy, Carrion Istomin, or Istomin, I don't know. So Carrion actually comes from Greek, and that means nut. So you can do with that information whatever you want. But it's a pretty interesting guy. So he was born, like, if I recall correctly, just so you guys know, I don't have a script. This is just completely freestyling. So there are going to be a lot of things which I also don't know. So I'll ask you guys as help for this, just to look, maybe translate some stuff. I hope we have some Slavic speakers. Istomin. Thank you. Maybe we can look at some stuff. But basically, this guy was born in 1640 something. No, I literally don't have a script. This is all just freestyling. So yeah, he was born, and then he was born in the city of Kursk, I believe. Grisha did, nice. So which is close to modern day Ukraine, if I believe, if I remember correctly. Oh, thank you, Furian. So he didn't come, at least if I recall correctly, he didn't come from like any special family or something, but he was always interested in like writing. So he wrote poems. He actually started working after like finishing his schooling. He started working at a publishing post because publishing was coming up, like Russia was westernizing. Not specifically at that time, but it slowly started. Right? Yeah, exactly. So it slowly started coming up, and it was spreading, right? So it started in Germany, and then it started spreading. Eventually, it reached the east, and it reached Russia. And he started working in this publishing. How can I say I saw humans? So he started selling and writing books. Publishing them, and he was actually pretty good at this, but he realized that that wasn't really his passion. Even though he liked it, it wasn't something that he wanted to continue doing all of his life. So he tried something else. So he actually became a monk. The year after he started working in a printing company, he actually started working as a monk, or as a part-time job, I guess. I don't know how you can combine those, but basically he did it. The mad lad did it. And so he started working, and he started translating a lot. He was always interested in translating, but the guy spoke Latin, or at least he was fluent in Latin. He was fluent in Greek. He was obviously fluent in late Old East Slavic or early modern Russian. He was fluent in Church Slavonic. The guy was insane. Like he did everything. And he started translating some very famous works, actually, some Latin works, some Greek works, and he saw that that was something that he actually loved. And this didn't go unnoticed. Like, there were people who noticed this, and eventually he started growing and growing, not physically, but he started growing through the ranks, not as a monk, but in the publishing place. And this got the attention of the bayari, right? The boyars. So the how could you say that? The nobles of Russia. And eventually he actually came in contact with a certain guy. I don't know if y'all know him, but his name was Peter the Great, and he was pretty influential. But he somehow, I don't know the exact story, I can find it, he met him. And Peter was a kid, right? So Peter didn't understand anything yet, but he had to become Tsar, so he had to become the emperor. Holy Spirit, that's my friend. So he had to become emperor. So this guy, this Carrion Istomin, he basically wrote a book for Peter on manners. So because as emperor, you had to behave, right? Yeah, the guy who hated beards, exactly that guy, who put a beard tax on everything. So he taught the little kid, the little emperor, how to behave, how to eat, stuff like that, because he had to behave like a gentleman, if I can put it like that. And he kept on writing and writing. And Peter, eventually got married and got a son. And this son is not really controversial. Well, he's controversial in like Russian history because a lot happened with him. I don't know if y'all know this. The Alexeyevich, the son of Peter, basically wasn't interested in ruling the country. So he saw what Peter did. He saw that Peter was westernizing everything. Peter was including, like the guy said, was that no, La Cesar Borisov. So he said he introduced the beer tax, and Alexei Petrovich, I don't remember the name. It might be. I think you're right. And he started reforming everything, but the son didn't want to do this. Like he didn't want to deal with all of this stuff. He was much more relaxed. He kind of wanted to enjoy life, not sleeping around or drinking. He was more of the fine arts. So he wanted to draw, he wanted to travel. And Peter was like, yeah, that's not going to happen, mate. It's just not going to happen. So when the guy was 13, he actually sent him off to war. Which is what you do, right? In the late middle, or isn't even Middle Ages, modern times already. And he was actually part of the army that recaptured Neva, so St. Petersburg. Basically, that recaptured that city, and then he grew up. But why am I mentioning him? I'm mentioning because this document, this Istomin Bukvár, was created for him. So this document was specifically created for the son of Peter the Great. So this was created in 1694. So at that time, the son was 4 years old. Who speaks Russian? I speak just a little bit. It's not that good. So this was created when the guy was 4. Like, imagine this. You're 4 years old and you're starting to learn how to read. So that's why it includes a lot of pictures. And it's pretty engaging in that sense of the word. So, actually, привет. So let's go over this stuff, right? So every single page basically consists of, let's say, 3 different fields. So we have the drawing with some different ways of writing the letter in question. Then we actually have the drawings with some words that actually fit, that actually usually start, not always, that usually fit the picture. And then we have some text. And this text is usually kind of difficult, and but it's written in a very, very archaic way compared to today, obviously. And this goes on and on and on. So we have the same thing right here. So we have a letter, then we have some drawings, we have a text, and this goes on for the whole alphabet, or azbuka, right, in Russian, because they didn't use the word alphabet. So I thought the smartest thing what we could do is actually just go over this, because it's fun. This is how I usually tackle like a manuscript. So I didn't prepare this. There's going to be probably a lot of stuff that I don't know, but we have some Russian natives. I don't know if we have some Greek natives. If we do, they would probably help us out as well. And yeah, alphabet, exactly. Alphabet was also used, but these, as I talked about in the video, I think, like they switched. So Azbuka, and then after the revolution, they basically switched sides, right? So alphabet became more of a Western approach, seeing things. So let's go over this. So this is the letter A, right? And Greek and Russian are extremely intertwined. So not only because they're both Indo-European, but because, first of all, the Russian or Cyrillic alphabet comes from the Greek alphabet, right? And obviously there's a lot of influence. And yes, azbuki, perfect. So it comes from the first 2 letters of the name. So because of the influence and because of the effects of the languages, so what happened was that back in the ancient times, or I should say like 800, well, late 10th century, a lot of new words were important into Old East Slavic because the new language, Church Slavonic, or Old Church Slavonic at that time, was seen as superior, was seen as a pure form, was seen as a ecclesiastical language. And this language was filled with Greek words. So word, for example, so actually I can show you right here. So this animal in Russian is called pietuch. Excuse my pronunciation, I'm not a Russian native, but this is this animal is called a pietuch, but this was seen as vulgar. So this word wasn't pure. It wasn't, even though it was Slavic, it wasn't seen as pure. So what a lot of people would do, they would use the Greek word, and that would be alektor, which comes from the Greek word, I don't know, but actually I'll check where that comes from. Alektor. Let's see. Ruski. Yeah, pietuch. So it comes from Old Greek, alektor. So they basically just translate it, or they basically used it. And will you put the stream to be watchable? I probably will. I don't really know. I'm not that familiar with this yet, but maybe. So yeah, so they saw that as a prettier form of the word. But not all words were changed. So for example, there was the old East Slavic word, or let's say East Slavic word of gorod, right? Which is city. Well, South Slavic, which is the standard that was used for Old Church Slavonic, was used a different form. So they used the form grad. Or if I would use the correct pronunciation, it would be grad, right? With the yer at the end. So because they saw their own word gorod and they saw grad, they were like, okay, so gradu or grade, depends on how you want to pronounce it, basically is the pure form. So we don't need to use the Greek word, because the Greek word would be polis, right? Like a Greek city-state, polis. Which is, I love Greek, it sounds so funny. So it's kind of to give you some context. So basically, we can see the letter A. And this letter is in Russian just called A, or by the old names, because until Peter's reforms, actually after the reform of 1917, different names for letters were used. So the letter A wasn't really called A, it was called Azu. Or with the correct modern Russian pronunciation, As, meaning I. So this name, Azu or As, means I. So this letter was called like that. And what you can see is actually that this letter doesn't really look like an A, right? This looks like a Ya, the modern Russian letter, Ya. So we have Ya, 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 Ya. But all of these are the same form, are the same letter. And then we have the Greek name, because Greek was seen as, as a very important language, as Alpha. So in modern Russian, at least from what I was able to gather, the modern Greek name for the letter in Russian would be Alpha, with a miekki znak, excuse me, while in Old Russian it would be Alpha. So we have alpha and different forms of the letters. And this is, skoropis. So this is cursive, which is very difficult to read, but you can see like different forms of the cursive alphabet. And then we have different words. And this is where it gets interesting, right? So excuse me, because there's probably a lot of things that I don't know, but let's go. So this person is a man, right? And we can see Adam. So this is probably from Adam and Eve. Interesting thing is that Adam in Turkic languages, like Tatar, like Adem, right, means человек, so it means person. But in the Christian tradition and in Russian, obviously, actually, pretty much all Indo-European languages, this will mean a man, right, as in Adam and Eve. And then we see this wind. It's going to be aprili. So What is this? This is probably going to be April. Why? Because we can take a look at the second word, and we can see yer. So e. And this is a titlo, and that is the letter s. And the s was basically inserted. So so we have yer. So this would be месяц, right? Which means moon, or it means month. So this is the month of April. And we can see a lot of diacritics. This is actually what the next video is going to be about. This little interesting diacritic right here. And it's his little friend. So this is the month of April. And then we go onwards. We have Aphrodita, Aphrodite, with this symbol. And let's see, area planeta. So this is area. Area, I have no clue what this means. Area. Arius, maybe. Planeta, planet. So if someone knows something, if they recognize it, what's missing? So this is what, shortened form. That is the shortened form, yeah. So it would be месяц. So month, right? Ares. Dude, that might actually be, you might actually be correct. Ares, planeta. Interesting. So the next word, which we can, yeah. Perfect. Might be. Or, Pluto. So the next word, if we go on, yeah, the symbol is the same, presumably the planet of Aries. Yeah, I think you guys are right. Area planeta. So the next word is arithmetica. And we can see this letter, which is the th sound, right? But th didn't exist in Slavic languages. So it got copied. Well, originally it got copied as a th, but Slavs couldn't pronounce it, or it wasn't, I don't really know the exact history, but it was, maybe it was pronounced like a th initially, but this kind of changed. So this became a f sound. And arithmetica. So every single time, page with a language on, yeah. So every single time when you would have a th, like in Greek, because Greek does have this letter, or English, Russian would just copy the symbol, but they wouldn't pronounce it like that. So this was very conservative like writing. So a nice way of understanding when to write this letter, if you use pre-reform orthography, is just look if English uses a th sound. And if it uses a th sound, Russian or Old Russian used the symbol as well. So, for example, if you take a look at orthography, I'll write that. Orthography. Oh, I can't do that. Wait, let me switch. So it was written like this because orthography with the th sound was, well, the th was present, so the Russians copied that symbol. It was just part of the alphabet. So arithmetics, right? So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Interestingly, these numbers weren't actually used that often in Russia during this time. So back then, the Cyrillic numbers were actually used. So you had 1, so for 1 you had A, for 2 you had B, etc., etc. So arithmetica. This is actually the period where these numbers slowly started appearing. Let's go on. So, anthrax, камень. Anthrax, probably, right? Because this is a th, so anthrax, камень. So stone, anthrax stone. Okay, it's for kids, right? So we have alictor, which would be pietuch, which would be like a rooster, right? We have some interesting animals. Aspid. So this comes from Greek. I happen to know this. And this was a dragon, or a kind of serpent. And because it came from mythology, Russians preferred the Greek terms. And this is going to be, we're going to see this more often. 100%. And then we have aranata koza. Aranata kaza, probably. Koza, aranata. So this I remember looking this up. This basically was also a kind of animal, but in this picture it looks half human, half animal, right? So this was another animal, some mythological creature probably. I don't know exactly, but something that you will encounter during this period. God and everything that we, some kind of, koza, right? So some kind of goat. So everything related to theology, so to God, and related to the human world was seen as one thing. Like people were religious, and that's it. So everything that you wanted to build, or everything that you wanted to do was indirectly or directly related to God. So everything mythology-wise and everything was basically seen as one thing. And then we have analogy, which is analogy, I think. Analogy. I have no clue what this is. Analogy. Analogy. No clue. It looks like a kind of stool, right? Like something you can sit on. And then we have some hidden ones. So this is a city. We can see часть. So this is part земли, part of the earth. Asta. I have no clue what this is. So, but it's a part of the earth. Asta. Who will win? Me, a life shower, old book. Oh, it's orangutan. Interesting. I think the old book is gonna win. Analoy. Analoy. What's analoy? Wait, let me look that up. Analoy. A lectern. A lectern. It's a stand with a slanted top used to support a Bible. Ah, cornet. That's perfect. Oh, that's some Greek right there. That's so nice. Are you Greek? Cornet. So, and then we go on. So we see America, right? Because the United States not, but America was discovered. So this is America, which is far away. Then we have Africa. Or no, it's not Africa. Wait. No, this is Africa. So Africa, and this one is interesting. So as I said, they usually preferred Greek terms for a lot of different things. And this is one of them. So they didn't use the old East Slavic word for, how do you call them again in English? Like, Боже, я забыл. Anchor, that's it, anchor, but they used the Greek term for this, and they wrote it like the Greeks would write it, which is also something, if you were to like look at old manuscripts, you will encounter this. They will even copy the Greek spelling. So Yakor, thank you, Grisha. So this says ag v ijica ra. So, but this was read as angira. Or no, wait, agk ijica ra. So this was read as ankura, I believe. And that's the Greek word for this. So ag, k, ijica, which represented the E sound in medieval Greek and medieval Russian. But in ancient Greek, actually, like sounded like the U sound, like in French, actually, like in du. So angira. So this is the Greek word. And now we're on to like a funny part, which is gonna be this. This is gonna be hard. Let's first examine like the orthography, if you guys are interested. I don't really know how long I've been streaming for. Don't know where I can see that. Anyway, so pre-revolutionary Greek, so before the reform of 1708, a Russian used a lot of diacritics, a lot. So if you take a look at, for example, the Bible, or if you take a look at some manuscripts, or like Ruskaya Pravda from the 11th century, which is the first ever Russian or Old East Slavic code of law. Very interesting read. You will see a ton of diacritics. Thank you, Dev. So one of these diacritics, actually two of them, you can see right here. So this symbol, this in Russian is called psilia, from Greek psili, and you will same thing, a lot of Greek names. So psili, this in Greek indicated that the sound was pronounced like it was written here. It wasn't preceded by a h sound. So this wasn't read as haza, which sounds Turkic, but it was read as aza, right? The funny thing is that Russian or Old East Slavic didn't have sounds that were preceded by this h sound. So, or they had them, but no diacritics were needed for this. And this is exactly what the video is about, by the way. So I hope you guys are interested for that. And then we can see this accent, and you can see this accent still in modern Greek. This is the only diacritic that modern Greek still uses. And in Russian, this is called oxia. And in modern Greek, or at least ancient Greek, it was also called oxia. And this basically indicates stress. So unlike Russian, where stress is seemingly completely arbitrary, there are some rules for that if you go back. It's kind of hard and I don't understand it. But these lines basically indicated where the stress would be. So let's see. There's something else you should see. Thank you for telling us how the stream is on. No. The stream is on this document. It's not on the marks. It's just like another document. So this little thingy, I forgot the name, but this is also very common in both. Actually, I don't know in Greek, but in Russian manuscripts. And this basically means that a yer, so tyordy znak, so this little sign that doesn't exist anymore. Let's this is kind of big. This thing, this letter, that it would follow this letter, right? But because they didn't have a lot of space, they would usually use diacritics. So this actually says v, which at this time would also be read as v, or v, depends. And it's basically to save space. So I think that's it. Oh, another one. This little flying thingy, I was surprised when I saw that for the first time. This is actually a part of a titlo, part of a title, but there's no sacred marker over it. And this basically means that this word ends with this letter. So chastech, right? So that's a ch sound at the end. Another diacritic you're going to see is this line. I think it's called vengria, or veng, something like that, also from Greek. And this was always written on the last syllable. So if a word didn't contain one of these ones, it would have one of these ones. And it didn't mean anything. So in ancient Greek, all of these symbols meant something, because ancient Greek had pitch accent, like Croatian has, like Chinese has, like Swedish has. They had pitch accents. So in order to like write it, especially during the Byzantine times, that's when this became popular, they would write these accents. Something else before we move on is this symbol is another title. There's a lot of them. And this means that the word is shortened. So you can see v, bgu, but this is vbogu, right? Within God, with God. Je mysl всё. So I think that's it. So let's try. So начало, aza. So начало is fiskonia, like the start or the beginning. Aza, so I, genitive. Pismene dolg znati. So pismene. So this is probably being literate. Dolg is that you have to do something, like это мой долг. Znati, this is the old form of znать, to know. So it's your plight. You have to know how to be literate, right? It's your dolg. Another word which modern Russians usually don't know because it comes from church, it's бытность. And бытность means жизнь. So this means life, existing. Бытность в, so we can see this little thingy, means yer, Adamie, right? So life in or with Adam. By the way, if I make a mistake, please tell me. Людей всех смотрят. So again, old form. All people, or people watch. Бытность is not that obscure. Like when I asked some Russian people, they always told me that they didn't know what бытность was. In Bulgarian, we use bit a lot to mean life. Interesting. Biti, right? We have that in Croatian. Biti. Людей всех смотрят. So people look at everything, or people look at everyone, I think. Something like that. Земля, earth, есть в частях. This is, by the way, a yat. This letter was deleted from the Russian alphabet in 1917 or 1918. And during this time, it wasn't actually pronounced as a ye sound. So during this time, most people will still pronounce it like its own thing. And in Russian, this sounded like iye. And this can still be heard in Croatian. Although in Croatian, it's either iye or ye. So it's частиех, right? Земля есть часть. So world, the world is in parts. I think в месяцах измена. So in months, not moons, I think. Измена. Changed, probably. Измена. This is interesting. So this is going to be otrocha. By the way, unlike modern Russian, these texts don't reduce vowels. So if it says o, you're going to read it like a o. So otrocha. This actually comes from atrok. Otrok in Russian, which means like a child or a pre-adolescent person. I believe, I think it's kind of dated. Betrayal, yeah, izmiena, perfect. Yeah, that could also mean betrayal. Izmienity, although I don't know, maybe, probably, right? Izmiena, so in Bulgarian it would be like a yeah. But I don't think this means betray, right? Because it's v месяцах izmiena. Betrayed by months? I don't know, could be. So, atrocha zrieti. Biti zreo, maybe like to grow and become adolescent, probably. Yeah, sounds like change to me too, to be honest. Like, I don't think this is izmenit. But okay, so zrieti, I think. So the child grows up, right? Slatye, в смысл одиена. Oh God, slatye. I have no clue. Slatye в смысл одиена. Antone, book. Slatse vyznania. Interesting. I have no clue what this is. Вся в мире вещи, so all the things in the world. So something interesting. So usually the I восьмеричное, so this I, like we have in Latin, was only used when it preceded another vowel. So for example, if I wanted to write like I, this would look like this. The first I would be this Latin I. But if you look at this word, mirie, you can see that this letter is actually not, it doesn't precede. Можемо ли поговорити тут час? Можеш тут слово написати. Ако имаш някакво питanje, само рeci. So, let's see. Yeah, so it doesn't precede another vowel. So, but why? Well, this is because Russian actually had two different words that were both written like mir, or they both sounded like mir. One of them was pakoi, which is also mir, like peace. This was written like this. And then you had mirje, and that's world. And that was written with this I. So this is purely orthographical. There's no difference in pronunciation. Вещи, things. Всяк да на зирает. На зирает. Всяк, everyone, so they can. Da, this is typically South Slavic. Nazirает. Nazirает. Zriati, maybe, like to look at something? Or maybe, Nazirat? I have no clue. Let's check. Nazira. No, I can't find it. Nazirat. V Bogu, right? This is a shortened form. V Bogu že, so in God or with God. Myslю всю, the whole meaning, right? В смысле either depends or what you mean, depending on the context, intonation. Ah, interesting. So, no, I don't study Slavistics, but this is my passion. Naziratelь. What does Naziratelь mean? So, в Богу же смысл всю. So, in God is the purpose of everything. Присно. So, this is a very, very known Church Slavonic word that I forgot. Prisna. I think quickly, right? Is it quickly? Always. Ah, da. Нине и присно, и во веки веков. So this means always, всегда, in modern Russian. So, обращает, обращает. So, обратить, have communication with or address. Во время свое, in his own time, всяко дело просит, everything asks. Всяко дело просить, вещи потребны. Всяко дело просит. Everything has to be completed or everything asks. Вещи потребные называют, следит. I don't know. Вещи потребные. So things that are needed, вещи, things that are needed, во пользу приносит. Во пользу приносит. So everything that is needed will be for something that is needed. So they will suit their existence and they will finish or do, Боже, it's so difficult to explain. And they will suit their purpose, right? Приносить. So they will do what they were supposed to do, I think. Из начала лет, so from the earliest times, юн всем обучайся. Юн comes from юность, which is youth. Юноth всем, everything that's needed will be used. Exactly. Yeah. Благодаря, Борисов. So, всем обучайся. So, обучаться is like to educate yourself. So, юн всем обучается. So when you're young, probably you have to educate yourself. Везде, everywhere о жизни. Everywhere about life. Мудрее, мудрость, like to become wise. Утешайся. Утешаться. I don't know what утешаться means. Утешаться. 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 Shall be comforted. Comforted? Anyway, this is one of these, right? And there's 33. So we won't go over everything because it's way too long. But this is what it looks like, right? So do you guys like this style? Is it interesting? I just want to know if this is not something that's boring. Just tell me, please. I think my chat is, I don't know if it actually works. It's interesting. Yeah, the thing is, I try to keep it in English because there's a lot of people who don't speak Russian or Slavonic or something like that. But this is very interesting when you look at these. Wait just a second. So this is very interesting for people who speak a Slavic language or who are interested in the development of language, because it mixes so many things. This literally mixes Greek, but do you consider something an inter-Slavic project? I'm actually very busy with with a lot of different things. I'm very interested in inter-Slavic, but currently I don't think I have enough time for that. But it might be something for the future, definitely. Okay. So, because this mixes Greek, not only Greek, it mixes ancient Greek sometimes. I have some two friends, actually, Leonidas and Julius. I don't know if they're in the chat right now, but these guys have been they have been amazing. They've been incredibly kind, because I've asked them thousands of questions about Greek, and sometimes we actually encounter words that aren't even used in modern Greek, probably because of katharevousa, which is the conservative form that died out in the 1980s, where they tried to revive Greek words, stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. So, next letter. Oh, this one. This is the form that I used in my video, obviously. I copied it by hand and then I put it in the video. And you can see that they try to recreate it with this guy, right? See the sword? And so this is the letter buki, which means letter, interestingly. So we have b, 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 and different cursive forms. This is the big one. Wasn't used that often, to be honest. You don't really encounter this form in manuscripts, especially not in like the 17th century. They would usually be, you know, more complicated, if I can put it like that. So, different forms. You can see this here. This is actually, some of these forms are highly, like, they all came from Greek, obviously, but they were highly influenced by Greek. So, let's take a look at these pictures. So, we can see a city. We can see an army with some musketeers, or bayari, right? Strelci, I think, which is the name of the elite regiments that Ivan the Terrible, well, bad pronunciation, well, bad name, but Ivan Grozny used. And it says Braň или война. Braň, I don't think modern Russian uses this anymore, but this comes from Old Church Slavonic, and this means battle. So, battle, I think at least, let me check if I remember correctly. Braň, yeah, battle. So, braň, battle, or vajna. Vajna is war. So this is a battle or a war. You can see these regiments. Yeah, so braň sounds like defend. That's also what braniti comes from. Jaga, brani, oni se brane, etc., etc. Branit probably in Russian. Polje brani. Interesting, I didn't know that. Thank you. So, these are animals. Baran, this is still used in Russian, I think. A ram. Buivol, this is, how do you call those? Buffaloes. This is a buffalo. We have britva. This is also still used in Russian and also in Croatian. This is a razor. Here we encounter one of the pure forms, right? So this thing is obviously barada in Russian, which is a beard. Well, barada isn't the pure form that these writers were aiming for. They prefer Church Slavonic. And South Slavic languages actually still do this. I don't know about Bulgarian, if Bulgarian uses brada, but I know that Croatian does it. So we would call this brada, and archaic Russian would use the same thing. So at least in written form. Then we have Baraban, which is a, you know, that's drum. You know, Boże, I forgot the name in English. Baraban. A drum, yeah. Yeah, drum. So this is actually not a Slavic word. Brada. Okay, brada in Bulgarian. Yeah, of course, because the accent's right here. So baraban is a drum, as Firion already said, and this actually comes from a Turkic language. This isn't Slavic. The interesting thing is that I haven't read about this, but for example, the old Croatian word for drum was dobosh. And dobosh actually comes from Hungarian. So I think maybe these cultures, Slavic cultures, encountered cultures that use these drums, and then they absorbed those words and they changed them, right? I don't know if this is true, but it's kind of interesting that at least Croatian and and Russian uses different or non-Slavic words for this. So then we have Biedra. Biedra. I don't know what this is. Biedra is like a... Let's see. Russian. Oh, it's not Bedro. I don't know what this is, to be honest. No clue. Yeah, same. In Croatian, this would be thigh, right? Biedro. No, I don't know what this is in Russian. Interesting. But this thing, beach, which means something different in English, that's a whip, and this is still used. That's bedro, right? Yeah. The accent is different in Russian. Okay, so now that we've covered these pictures, let's go on. Bytnost iz Boga, so life from God. Stihi priyasha, so this is the aorist, I think. I don't think this is the imperfect. So this is a tense that doesn't exist anymore in modern Russian. So modern Russian lost all of its past tenses except one, I believe, rabotal. But Russian used to have like 3-4 past tenses. Imperfect, actually more. Imperfect, aorist, and some other forms that all fell out of use. Pushkin, if you read his work, he still uses a tense that I cannot remember, but it's still used in some villages in Russia. A weaving reed. Interesting. Thank you, Grish. So he actually uses a very archaic tense. So stihi, which is like a poem. Priyasha. Brdo. Well, brdo means a hill. So I don't know. Anyway. Ucha shim bukvi. So we learn the letters. Why is this written like this? Znak. So znak, symbol. Sklada. Sklada is like formation. Objeszczasza. Objasniti, maybe, like znak sklada objasnit, like to explain the symbol of formation. Could be. Iz nachala braň, so from the start, from the origin, a battle. V mirie obitaet. Encapsulates the world. V mirie obitaet. Obitatsa. I don't know. Junia ljudi, young people. Žiti ubučaet. So it teaches young people to live life. Baraban v palkiech. So baraban, which is a drum. Since the world exists, we have been worrying. Yeah. Baraban v palkiech. I don't know what palkiech means. Bulk. Wait. Bulk. Ruski. Bulk. Regiment. Interesting. Military regiment. Thank you, Grisha. So, baraban, so a drum in a regiment. Vremya dajet znati. So it lets know of time itself. So it allows us to know, right? Vremya, time, dajot, or diet in this period, and lets know. Životna, umiem. So животно, related to жизнь, related to life, умным, which is the smart ones, могут помогати. So life can help, or people who are smart can help in life, maybe. Animals. Человеком, with man, есть, with man is, брада, so for man, having a beard is совершенство, совершенно, like ideal, perfect, I guess. Младым, so young ones, слушати, young ones listen, старых людей, older people, действо, another title, действо, старых людей, действо. Mladí слушати, so young people listen to the actions of old people, I think. Старых людей. Deeds. Yeah, the deeds of old people. Ткати, поставь, добр. Ткать. 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 To weave. Боже. Ткать. Ткать, поставь, добр. So you have to weave. Well, юных наказати. Наказание, right? Dostoevsky. So this is like, you have to make them weave, I think. Бичем не умрут. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is бичем не умрут. So they won't die by the whip. This is very old. И мут, they have успевати. Oh, so they have to succeed. Well, this is pretty like intense stuff. So they have to succeed. They don't die, or they won't die by the whip. And we have to show the youth. That's basically what this says. I think we can go on to the next one. Let's see. Let me check if this is still working. Yeah, I think so. Okay, next letter. V. Vjeđe. Letter vjeđe. So we can see this beautiful one. This is again an imitation of this letter. We can see the cursive. See this, right? Interesting. Look at this. How beautiful. Glagolica. So vita or veta in or beta in old Greek. We can see the W. So we haven't seen this before, I think. But we actually have. I just didn't see it. So Russian wasn't only obsessed by Greek and Old Church Slavonic. Russian was also obsessed by Polish. And this is still somewhat visible because there's quite a lot of words that actually come from Polish. And they were mostly adopted in the 16th and 17th centuries. And interestingly, quite a lot of modern Russians are still very interested in Polish. Like, I was surprised by the amount of Russian people who study Polish. It's very, very interesting. So this letter, so this was either in Russian pronounced, well, most likely like a V, voiced, although some Russians pronounce it like a V, which is also prominent in South Slavic languages. I don't know if Bulgarian does it, or Macedonia. I don't think Macedonian does it, but they also include the oh, nice, Polski. So the they also include the Polish letters, and the Polish actually uses the letter W to represent the V sound. So we can see this right here. So this is the Polish one, and so V, right? So let's see these pictures. So this is vieter, wind, right? Vieter. Varon. This is voron. I think this is varona in modern Russian, like a crow. Yeah, crow. Vinagrad. See, this is interesting. It says vino, gra, and then the D's at the top. This is also very common. Like, you can see this in old Slavic documents a lot of times. For example, in one of the previous videos, you can actually see I drew Cesar Gorod or Raven. Yeah, Grisha, you're right. It's Raven, my bad. So you can see Cesar Gorod with the D at the top. And Cesar Gorod is Tsarigrad, right? Modern day Istanbul. So, yeah. So Grisha is right. Both Varona and Varona exist in modern Russian. It's a masculine, feminine thing. So this is going to be a raven. So, voin. Voin. So this is probably like voinik, which is a soldier, right? And also related to vaina, which is war. Vili or vili, I don't know. This is a fork. Well, not a fork, but like the fork that you use in barns. Also a very common Slavic word. Vesla. So this is Viesla. So this is the thing that you use in boats, right? A pedal. What else? Oh, yeah, this is interesting. So sometimes what would happen is that Russian would copy the altered Slavonic word, but would change the meaning. This is actually pretty common. Languages, when they usually like copy words, eventually they will change the meaning. So this is vrata. And vrata in modern Russian means gate, right? And but when it was copied, it meant door. And this can, for example, in Croatian, we would say vrata, which still means door. And it used to mean the same thing, like in Ultra Slavonic as well, obviously. And then it was copied and it's meant gate. Yeah, exactly. So because they probably had two words, I don't know if this is the reason why. I mean, there's a lot of synonyms, but eventually dver was door, right? So vrabi, vrabats probably, which is the bird. You can see it right here. Vierigi, vierigi, a chain maybe? Does anyone know what this is? Vierigi. Vieriga, chain. Chains. Interesting. And we have vienets. So this is a crown. Vienets. We have viedro, which is interesting because this should actually be a yacht. This, I don't think this is correct. So one of the interesting things that you guys might encounter is that a lot of times people actually didn't know the etymology of words, because nowadays we have Wiktionary, we can actually look things up online, right? And things are pretty easy. We have etymological dictionaries and stuff like that. But back then, people didn't have this. So sometimes what would happen is that yat, which was purely etymological, well, at this point, it was still pronounced, but it started fading. So for example, we have the Russian word piesok, which means sand. And this word in Proto-Slavic had an or a yat sound, but it eventually started fading and people probably started forgetting that the yat was there. So instead of writing it like this, this is going to be hard. Like sok, so p yes, they would write. They would write it like this. So instead of the yat, they would write the ye, simply because it was forgotten about. This is probably one of those words, I think. Let me check. Yadro. Yeah. So this was in Proto-Slavic, this was vadro, which means a water bucket. And this guy, Istomin, the guy who wrote this, probably made a mistake, but that's fine. So, vreteno. No clue. Vreteno. Bulgarian. Spindle. Oh, spindle. That's when you're weaving, you have like a spindle where you put the wool on, stuff like that. Interesting. So, Vietv. Vietv. This is, I think this was a branch in Old East Slavic, right? Vietv. Let me check. Vietv. Yeah, branch. So this comes from Old East Slavic Vietve, and it means, oh, Bulgarian also has it. Vetva in Bulgarian. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. And then we have Vierv. Nice. I think we covered everything here. Oi, oi. Here we go again. Wiedzie. Name of the letter, pismena. Written v slozie. I think this is second Slavic palatalization. Slozie. So slog. Slog is a syllable. But slozie, this is the old form. So slogie in the syllable prezriadna. Prezriadna. I don't know what this means. Zriati, probably will look again. Izuchen. We learned. Pisать недосадно. Dosadno is boring. Like, we learned how to write correctly, I guess. Vidi si. Everyone can see these. Человеком требны. Человеком are needed to people. Человеком, instrumental for человек. Okay. Смотреть должно, so you have to look. Что не были вредны. So, презрядно, очень хорошо. Perfect. Отлично. Nice. So, this is actually something I wanted to touch upon. This is pretty funny. So this is a very interesting... So there's things called false friends, right? And basically what a false friend is words that, well, they look the same, but they mean something completely different. So both вредный, which is вредный in Russian, it means harmful, right? So bad. But vredan in South Slavic or in Croatian means that you want to work, that you are very, how would you say that in English? Подожди. Skillful? Not skillful, no. It's like, just a second. Diligent. That's the word that I'm looking for. So if you ever decide to go to Croatia or Russia, know what forms of the words you're using, because the meaning can be totally different. It can mean a complete opposite. So in Russia, vrijedni means harmful, means bad, while in Croatia, vrijedan means hardworking, right? It means diligent. So interesting. In Bulgarian also means harmful. Croatian it doesn't. It's very positive. So on vrijedni človek, on je jako vrijedan čovjek, means he's a very diligent person, while in Russian it would mean he's a very harmful person, right? So vinagrad, jasti, so eating berries, or these are grapes actually, vinagrad, jasti, людям есть полезен, so it's useful to people. Vina, пить много, to drink a lot of wine. Не всяк будь любезен. So when you drink a lot of wine, not everyone will be kind. Yeah? Гулякам юным, гулякам. Maybe гуляти, like гулять, like to walk. Гулякам. Young people walk, не сладка наука. So it's not a sweet science. За свое своеводию. Slacker. Okay. За своеводную Vjerikach i muka. For his, za svoje volju. For his own will, in something is there muka, is there sorrow. Vojnu imjeti, to be at war, всегда человеку, always to a person, kako пройдет, when it passes, путь к небесном веку. So when the war ends, a person will always go to the road towards the eternal heaven. Небесном веку, I think that's what it means. Своя воля, willfulness, thank you. And they put in change. Okay, so they'll be put in chains, and then with when the war starts, a person will always end up in eternal heavens, right? Okay. Next one. Bukva G. Glagol. Word. Or to speak. Glagolati is to speak, which is where the word glagolica comes from, right? The earliest Slavic writing system comes from glagolati, which means to speak. So we can see different forms. We can see that this is extremely similar to Greek. So g. This is a titlo with the letter g. And different forms. Can you imagine you're just reading a text and then you see this? Well, this means that it's a letter G. It's insane. Like these scripts, man. So we have gamma, which is the Greek name, and then we can see the letter h. And this is interesting because in some languages, like Ukrainian, for example, right, the letter g actually stands for the letter h, which isn't the h like in hotel or hotel in English, but it's the h, which comes from deeper, and that's a Ukrainian one. Also, for example, grad, which is city, which you can actually see right here. I think it's like grad in Czech or Slovak, one of these Western Slavic languages. They actually use the h sound. So gara, hill or mountain. Grob. Grob in this case actually means your grave. I think in modern Russian it means something else. I might be wrong. Coffin. And only poetic it's grave. So coffin and grave. Then we have golub, which is a pigeon. Well, let's skip this one for now. And gusle. Gusle. I don't know what this is. Gusle. Gusle. I don't. Is that like an instrument? Yeah, this is a mythical creature. This is actually a Slavic mythical. Yeah, perfect, Grisha. That's it. Well, let's get back to that one. So I think this is an instrument. Gusla, I think. Grad, again, old Church Slavonic version. So city. Grib, which is gribi, mushrooms. Grebень, which is a comb. And grabli, which is a hark. What do you call them? My brain. Grabля. And so this thing, this is actually, I believe, this is a Slavic. Добрый вечер всем. Привет. So this is, I believe, a Slavic or originally Slavic mythological creature that would fly and bring prosperity. But I am not sure. Gamayun. Gamayun. Yeah, so this was Mythologia Ruskaya. Interesting. Let's see. So it's a prophetic bird of Slavic folklore. It's a symbol of wisdom and knowledge and lives on the island of the mythological east close to paradise. She is said to spread divine messages and prophecies. Interesting. Like the siren and the alkonost, other creatures likewise deriving ultimately from Greek myths. Of course it's Greek. If you don't know what it is, it's probably going to be Greek. So this is a very interesting drawing. It's like feathers with a hat. Okay. So let's just see. Let me check something. Глаголь письмена добре изучая. Изучай. Добре изучай. So глаголь письмена. So this letter, which is called глаголь, письмена, written form, добре, which is the next step. So you have good and добре изучай. So you have to learn it well. Exactly. Learn to write it well. Явстві в сльозях річ. Явстві. Являтися, maybe like to appear in сльозях. Сльози is tears. Річ, word or saying. Oi. This is quite something. Сльози річ. Всяку извешай. Всяку, every So this in South Slavic would be shta. Извештаяй. Известите, like to let know, to remind something. This is still slog, not sljoze. Oh, you're right. So this would be slog, as in syllable. Interesting. Riech. So in the syllable of a word, every acknowledging, letting know. Razumie, understand, юный, understand, young one. О всяком, about every глаголе, about every word. В правде, or в правде, не будешь. In truth, you won't. В греховном, in грех is Боже, how would you say that in English? Грех is a sin. So in sins, в греховном ты доле. So in truth, you won't fall in the pit of sins. С глаголя вещи or вещи, в глаголя вещи, мой сообщение у меня. Да, у тебя. Да, думаю, что все работает. Просто это иногда есть. So вещи, things with words, things. Комули. Комули. Who, to whom, ли, question word. Смотрите. To whom you watch, to whom you look. В приклада пользу. В прикладь. I don't remember the meaning of that word. Прикладь. Can't find it, sadly. Прикладь пользу. So usage, I think. Прикладах. So this is прикладах пользу. Возможет иметь. So possibly, возможно. So possibly have. Лети в. So fly in or with. Блаженство with. Blessed. Восходы на гору. Fly or go, maybe. Идти, ехать. Лети, fly with the blessed. Go to the mountain. Причтете Боже, причтешися. We'll be able to have, I'm guessing. Ти. Небесну собору. Yeah, so the thing is, back then, Russian or Old East Slavic, or actually I should say early modern Russian, didn't have the Z anymore. So they had the Z, but they didn't write it anymore because due to analogy, the Z changed into a G again. So for example, mnogi, which means a lot, would be written like mnozi, but it wasn't like, it simply wasn't read like that anymore. So it's just kind of complicated sometimes. Sabor. Interesting. So in Russian, according to the dictionary, sabor or sobor means cathedral. So you will join the eternal or nebesnu v nebesach. So in raj, in heaven, the cathedral of heaven. Nikomu же, so to no one, zde. So this is здесь, I think, here. Here, смерть и гроб не страшен. So there, death and a coffin or a grob, like a grave, is no one is afraid of it. So why coffin actually comes from sabara? Yeah, gathering. But I think in this case it actually means cathedral, right? The cathedral of heaven. And in this place, no one is afraid of death and graves. Ashte, ashche, kto, dobrim. So if you are kind, жительством, ukrashen. So you will be blessed with ukrashen. You will be blessed and made beautiful with life. Blessed with eternal life, probably. Can zde be gdzie? I don't think so. I think zde is a short form of здесь. But let me check. Maybe I'm wrong. No, it comes from, it's здесь. If I remember correctly, there's only two languages that still use, two Slavic languages that still use a form of здесь, which is like Russian and Czech, at least according to Wiktionary I remember looking. So next one, I think this is going to be maybe the last one, because we have 33 to go, right? Quite a lot. So next one, dabro, which is the Russian pronunciation of good, right? Which you can also see in добро пожаловать, welcome, and добрый вечер. But dabro, like dobra, isn't used in Russian anymore. You can still encounter that in South Slavic languages, but East Slavic languages, at least Russian, doesn't use it anymore. So the, and these are cursive forms. Then we have delta, or back then it was pronounced delta, and we have the Polish versions, which is also how a lot of modern Latin languages would write the letter D. Okay. Dver. Well, that's a coincidence. This means door. Dreva. This looks like a B, but that's not a B, because this has to be a V. So that's dreva. So in modern Russian, this would be дерево, because East Slavic languages didn't like consonantal clusters, right? Which is why you have молоко, which is why you have город, which is, they simply didn't like them. So they would insert similar vowels. So дерево, but in this version, you can see that they actually preferred the Old East Slavic or the Ultra Slavonic version. So dreva. Dlaň, which is ладонь, I believe, in modern Russian. Dlaň is more of the Church Slavonic version, which is also used by South Slavic languages. Wrist, or palm of your hand, actually. Then we have Diadima. This has to be something Orthodox related. So this is probably a prayer robe. Dolonь in modern Ukrainian, interesting. I wish I knew more about Ukrainian. It's a beautiful language, but I sadly don't. So I have to study it one day. So Diadima, this is a prayer robe. Is it like, it is like Diadema. Well, when I think of Diadema, I think of something very different. But let me look this up. Diadema. So из греческого слова diadeo означает или украшение вида венца. Interesting. So diadem is a type of crown. No, that's not it. Specifically ornament headband worn by monarchs and others as a badge of royalty. No, it's not it. So this is probably prayer robe. Делба. Делва. This is a keg, I think. This one is actually pretty interesting. So for all of you that know rainbows, basically the word rainbow is pretty interesting because in common Slavic, Proto-Slavic, the word duga meant rainbow. But Russian, for some reason, didn't like that, and they changed it to raduga. So raduga is the common Russian version of rainbow, if I recall correctly. But duga means arc or arch. I think it's arc. No, that's arch, not arc. And basically, so the meaning changed, which is also something that I mentioned before. Pretty interesting. What else do we have? This is Dubrova. So this is interesting because I don't know the modern Russian word for this, but in Croatian we have two words for oak. We have the modern word, which is hrast, and we have the archaic word, which is dub. And Dubrova is an oak forest. And but I don't know the modern Russian word for oak. Is it dub? Could that be it? Dub. Ruski. Oak. Oh, it actually is. Dob. Nice. So this is an oak forest. A thick forest, right? And they use modern Russian for oak. Nice, nice. So Russian kept the original word. We changed it. And this is Vogradoroga. So this is kind of hard because you cannot really see, but this probably is like a D there. So vo, to, grad, old Russian version for city. Daroga, which is a way, right? A path. So this is probably the path to the city. And this is doloto. Like a knife, maybe? Oh, a chisel. Ah, it's a chisel. Interesting. They use for like wood carpeting, right? On to the next part. And I think we're going to finish it there because I think I could go on for ages. Лето. Interesting. Nice. Спасибо. Добра учиться. So it's good to learn. Кому есть охота? To whom is охота? Охота. Interesting. So it comes from хотеть, which means to want. So this is actually a wish, like охотник. So it's good to learn. To whom wants to learn? Желание. Конечно. Постигнет того. So he reaches, he becomes, or they become whatever. Райская доброта. So they will reach, or they will become, they will reach Rai, heaven's enlightenment or heaven's goodness, the goodness from heaven. Eve Diadimach, so, and in this prayer robe, благой жизни славный. And in this robe, in their own life, благой, so полной, благой, so in their fruitful life, they will be slavny. They will be not praised, that's not the word. They will be hard to think at this when you put at the spot. You know, like praised. I think I can't think of the English word right now. So рассмотрительством. So through looking, aște if благонравный. I don't understand this part. It's difficult. Рассмотрительством aște or asce благо. If they are judge people accordingly, or if they act accordingly. Домом ли жити? So домом ли жити? Дом, house or home. Ли жити, to live. Требна is needed. Домостройство. So to live at home, you need to build. Строить, to create. Домостроительство, like to create a home, to create a place that you can call home. Всякому, to everyone, знати, to know. Своих, his, вещей, things, свойства. Свойства. Don't remember the Russian word for that. Property. Свой and ство. Interesting. So property. Всего во ради. So with everything. Bo. I think Ukrainian still uses that word, right? Ilya, is it Ilya? Ukrainian? Oh, because. Потому что through люди разум стяжут. Разум. Knowledge or память or knowledge of people стяжут. Стяжут. I don't know. It's a set of rules for a married life, I think. Interesting. Домострой. Соберут. To collect. Yeah, makes sense. Да, лести в мире. To лестить. Строка. Если имеют благой нрав, то славные. Makes sense. Лестить. I can't find it. I have no clue. Oh, this is actually interesting. So before we leave and finish this hard piece, this is a letter Z. And this letter is only present in one modern Slavic language. But I believe that there's another one. I believe it's either like Sorbian or that uses the sound as well. I think Polish has it as well, but they don't use a letter for it. So the letter Z, this was originally in Proto-Slavic, and through Proto-Slavic, it obviously became part of, well, the languages split, right? It became part of the other languages. So as the languages evolved, many of them lost this sound. So Z became Z. So Russian, well, Church Slavonic, I should say, didn't want to lose letters. This is something that you will encounter a lot. So Russian, Church Slavonic, and Church Slavonic in general, Bulgarian, and every izvod, every different, well, generation, was very conservative. So they had to think of ways and think of reasons why they would want to keep this letter. And they actually thought of one, and that is that there's going to be 6 words that they refuse to write with the letter Z. One of which is zlo, which means, well, not darkness, but bad things, right? It means zlo, like you have the good and you have the bad. And zlo received additional attention because it was such a powerful word. Yeah, evil, that's it, perfect. So evil. So it received special attention simply because it was such a powerful word. You had the good, yeah, z. So you had the good and you had the bad. So why would you just write it with a z, right? You could put some special attention to it. So you could put a diacritic on it, but they thought, no, we're going to keep the letter z in there. Another word that uses this letter is actually zmi, which is a snake. Here we go, which is this thing. And this animal was seen as a very mythological and a very special animal, right? It was seen as something that was unexpected and strong, and so they didn't write it with the letter Z. So zmiya, which is the modern Russian word for a snake, this is where that word comes from. But it actually also meant serpent or dragon. And there's some other words like zayets, which is a bunny. So Polish actually uses two sources for za. One for za. Yeah. So the interesting thing is that Macedonian actually still has this sound and they use it, but there's actually some words that are currently also being accepted with the z sound. I remember asking someone online quite a long time ago how they would say the word zlo. And he said that there were two versions of this word, with the z and with the z, but the z version was more common, so that they would say zlo instead of zlo. But for example, zvoniti, so to call or to ring, they would say dzvonit. So they also don't use t, so dzvoni. So for example, zvono, which is a bell, they would say dzvono. And they have quite a lot of words like this. For example, the word for wall. So stena in Russian, wall, which means stone or rock, or in Croatian, but in Macedonian they use zid. So which in Croatian would be zid. So you can see that if there's a z sound, sometimes it's going to be a z in Macedonian. So we have two versions for ring, ring, bung, zin, zin. Yeah, I heard that. Bulgarian does the same thing, but you don't write it with a z. So Russian wrote it with the z, but it didn't read it. So even though you write it, you don't read it like that. It's like the same with the th sound, right? In this sound, this letter, like this. You would read it like a th in Greek, but people just read it like a f. So this is dorogi, spriashai. So the roads, ask the roads, спрашивать, probably to ask for the way. Обичаем, внемли. I have no clue. Обичает, внемли. Right, or tradition. Okay, right or tradition. Дороги спрашивай, обычное внимание. Yeah. So pay attention. Внимание. This is внимание. Okay, so to pay attention. And then we have ходяй повсюду. Go walk on this, like on this part. Ходяй идти. Go on this road. Всяк никогда дремля. Everyone never, each and everyone never дремли. I don't know what дремли is. Дремли. Russian. Дремать. To doze. Дремати. To doze off. So So follow this path. You will never go astray. You will never fall asleep, I think. Yeah, fall asleep. Dormire. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I think the stream was like an hour and 40 minutes. I hope you guys actually like it. I remember talking about this. I hope that there would be like 2 people. If there was 1 person, it would be amazing because I knew I could at least talk to 1 person, but there's quite a lot of people. So that was thank you guys so much. This is really insane. Also very new for me, so I also have to find out how I have to end this stream, where that works. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Just please tell me if this is something that you guys are interested in. Some more, we can take a look at the other words, like the ye. This is je, dje, as we said. And then if we go on, eventually we'll reach some spicy ones, some spicy memes. This all of this is still pretty arbitrary, or pretty self-explanatory, I should say. So this one, bukva ot, the letter ot, which doesn't exist in Russian anymore. Then we have another one, bukva shch, which in South Slavic is shta. Then we have yer, which is the final letter. Then we have y, which is still in Russian, yer. Yat, very interesting letter, leads to a lot of complications. U, which is in Russian, and then we have the spicy memes, and that's going to be ksa from Greek. We have psa from Greek, and we have fita, so theta in Greek, and izhica. I forgot izhica. That's about it. So guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna try and shut this down. Let's see if it works. Thank you guys for attending, and take care. Wishing you all the best. Увидимся.